I watched before my very eyes Vince kick Shawn Michaels to the curb. Russo'sBrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
And so I eventually found out I had some bulging discs or herniated discs. They kept me in the hospital for a few days, set me packing with no rehab, no nothing. They gave me a walker and said, "See ya, pal." And I went, well, shit, this, I don't know what to do. But I was able to get through that with simple rehab and a Asian genius in Tampa. Shout out to Dr. Ree, who taught me to walk again. And then when I walked again, I walked right back into an Impact taping where I had to wrestle Bobby Lashley in a last man standing match. So I went from being injured to going into the ring with a legitimate human monster in a very physical and violent match. But I got through that alive. Fortunately, I have no back problems. As far as persistent in the ring, I would imagine the back being the most detrimental to working with consistency. Fortunately, I don't have too many issues there. The neck I had issues with, like where I have some atrophy and nerve damage, but I'm able to get through that. Like the shoulders, the ankles, when you get going, there's adrenaline, right? And you have sort of a pep in your step, and then you don't feel it till you're done. I mean, I've torn my ACL in matches and I had to finish them. This one time on Saturday Morning Slam, I did a suicide dive to Antonio Cesaro, and when I landed, my knee popped out of place. And if you could find this match, Derek Bateman versus Antonio Cesaro on Saturday Morning Slam, I do this dive, my knee pops out of place. And I remember in my head, Lethal Weapon 2, where Mel Gibson had to get out of the straitjacket, dislocated his shoulder, got out of it, and he had to pop it back in. So you can see me bashing my leg into the mat to put my knee back into place to go into the finish, where I went off the top rope, missed the crossbody, and got beat. But really, the worst injury you can have in wrestling is probably the injury to the psyche and the mentality and the anxieties or the depressions or the sadness or the frustrations. The mental game is probably the worst. I apologize. There's an asshole with a leaf blower behind me.
That's okay. Well, you're coming in loud and clear.
All right.
Bro, I got to ask you this. You brought up adrenaline. I always go back to this, bro. I think whatever WrestleMania it was, where it was Austin and Shawn Michaels, and leading up to it, Shawn, had back pain and back injury and this and that. And I remember, bro, I'm watching the match, and it was all about Shawn's bad back leading up to the match. And then, bro, in the middle of a match, he does a kip up. And I'm like, bro, come on. Now, I got to ask you this, bro. Let's talk about adrenaline for a second. Bro, does adrenaline really kick in, or in your mind, do you think adrenaline kicks in and you're able to fight through a match? And what do you think about that match with Shawn? Was that kip up with a, badly injured back? Was that adrenaline?
Probably. I think Shawn and the guys back then, Austin, Shawn, despite injury, were so proficient and so good, and so they worked so much that they can get through what they know they can do. And I can see Shawn in that state of mind where he's kind of at the end and angry at everything and injured, being like, I'm still going to kip up because fuck everybody. I can see that being in Shawn's mindset. As the adrenaline, I think it's a mixed bag, because there are times where I'm out there and I don't feel the adrenaline, but I want to, and I try to kind of force it, and it maybe doesn't happen. But there are definite times where, like, you're in the moment and nothing can stop you. Like, sometimes when you get injured, you don't realize it till after a match if you really have the adrenaline going. What's interesting about that match, too, is, like, Shawn in his prime, Austin in his prime, and I think they both, like, kind of, like, feel like it was not the quality they wanted it to be. Maybe because of Shawn's mentality, definitely because of his body. He did retire after that. But you watch it back, it's still pretty good, and it got the business done, and it crowned the new champion, and it passed the torch. So
yeah, getting there, bro, was such a headache. Shawn was such a problem in getting there, and I know it's a different guy than it is today. I totally understand that. But in getting there, he did not make it easy for anybody.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Did he not want to do the favor, or was he just so down about it maybe being the end of him as the top guy?
Bro, I'll tell you, this was the main thing. This is what was going on. Bro, again, at the time, Shawn is under the pills of, the influence of pills and God knows what. And he was a royal pain in the ass to deal with. And I'll never forget, man, I'm at Vince's house one week and it's just the two of us. And I'm like, my God, Vince, why don't you freaking cut him loose? Like, enough, bro. Like, every week it's drama. He's an issue. And he looked at me and he says, Vince, I will cut him loose on my time. In other words, if there's still money to make with Shawn, he's going to make the money with Shawn. However, at that time, bro, Austin was on the rise. So when you had, as hot as Austin was with what an problem Shawn was, bro, you literally, I watched before my very eyes Vince kick Shawn Michaels to the curb. I watched it. And that's why I always tell everybody, bro, if Vince McMahon can kick Shawn Michaels to the curb, he can kick you to the curb. Shawn was smart enough, bro, to know what was going on. And that was really the issue he had with Vince. When the business was down, bro, we put the belt on Shawn, and Shawn did everything we asked him to do. Then along comes a shiny new toy, and Vince kicked him to the curb. I'll never forget, bro, during that time, Vince and Shawn were not speaking to each other. I had to be the go-between. So I'll never forget, Vince said something. I had to go to deliver it to Shawn, and Shawn says, and I quote, "You tell that sorry son of a bitch, if he wants his fucking World Wrestling Federation title," he just said title, "if he wants his fucking title, then he's going to have to come to fucking San Antonio and take it off my fucking mantle." So, bro, I go back to Vince. Well, what did he say? I said, he said, if you want your fucking title, you need to go to fucking San Antonio. And Vince looked at me and goes, did he really say that? I said, yes, Vince, word for word verbatim. So, bro, literally, I was the go-between the two, but that was Shawn's biggest chip on his shoulder. The fact that Vince was kicking him to the curb, Vince was done with him, and he knew it, and he was not going to make that easy for Vince.
I'm going to give a little insight. Sounds like a bit of a lover's quarrel, if you ask me.
Well,
having said that, you'd think if Shawn wasn't the problem he was backstage, Vince would not kick him to the curb.
Right.
Because you want two top guys. I mean,
yes.
Rock and Austin seem to coincide extremely well with the hottest boom period in wrestling history, right? So it was more of like he's kind of his own worst enemy in that sense, is what I gather. Because Vince wouldn't just kick him aside. Maybe it's Steve's turn. He's red hot.
Yeah.
But you're always going to be in that mix.
You are 1,000% correct. If Shawn would not have been such an issue, I don't think Vince would have been, ready to just dispose of him that quickly. I agree with you 1,000%.